Welcome to the podcast. Everything we say today is alleged and nothing is real. These are all of our own thoughts and in no way representative of the reality of these shows or conspiracy theories that we talk about.
No one can sue us.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Lauren.
We are finally in warm weather in Chicago. So happy.
Woo.
Woo woo.
We got the rosé.
Saturday night.
We are feeling lit.
So are you ready to discuss? We're going to change up the order this time. So we're actually going to start with Summer House. And then move to Vanderpump and Vanderpump's cousin, the Valley.
Stepsister.
Okay, so Summer House, we start with Amanda and Kyle. They're having the fight. We just jump right back in.
Yes. Here we go again. Men full on crying during arguments. I do think he has so much stress, clearly.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things. And then he's probably quite intoxicated as well while this argument's happening. But the breakdown in the car and he's talking to himself, like, get it together, Kyle.
Jess, I wrote, tears dried up pretty damn quick in the car when Danielle comes to it.
Danielle is so inserting herself in this, too. I was like, well, she's got to get that storyline. She's got to be part of some conversation.
I was so shocked she didn't say, as an entrepreneur myself, I was waiting for that.
Unfortunately, I thought she'd drop it again because she wouldn't have had the audience feedback from how ridiculous that statement was from, like, the few weeks prior.
Also, can we say, I wrote down this quote from Carl. At some point during this meltdown that Kyle was having, this temper tantrum that baby Kyle was having, Carl said, it's crushing not to have a partner who values you or what you've built. And I wanted to say, Carl, what have you built?
Yeah. You have been unemployed for like a year and a half, so please explain. I love that Kyle is having this meltdown. He's still in Sierra's shorts. He's like stomping around in her little orange shorts. I'm like, this visual is amazing.
I didn't even notice that, Jess. That's such a good point.
Yeah, he's still rocking what he was wearing on the boat.
Okay, and then so smaller point, they then go out. All the guys go out, I wrote down, until 3:28. And I was thinking, how can Carl, Mr. Sober Carl, be out until 3:28? You couldn't pay me money to be out that long if I was sober.
After having a boat day?
Yeah.
And did you catch the snarky comment when Paige was like, well, I'm not going to go out with all the guys. And then Gabby's like, oh, Danielle's going. Paige, she doesn't count. She's so like anti-Danielle now.
I mean, Danielle's going to get downgraded to friend of, I would have to think.
Oh, I know. Because like we said, we don't know what they're going to do cast-wise this upcoming summer.
No.
Because Danielle has absolutely nothing if, like, Lindsay's not on it anymore.
Right, nothing to offer.
She's not truly friends with them. Amanda was on Watch What Happens Live this week, and someone asked, how is your relationship with Danielle? And she said she was just at a bridal shower, and Danielle ignored her. Oh. So real time, they are not friends or speaking. And then they get thrown in and they're supposed to like be this big like happy family in the summer house and they don't actually like each other or hang out.
Right. And so then they wake up the next day and Carl and Lindsay have their like in the bed convo. And it starts off like they're going to mend it. And then it started
solid. I thought we're both calm.
Yeah.
We're speaking nicely to each other and it just went left. Soft and tenderness, I just about died when it was like, do you know Lindsay? That never once. And then did you hear when Lindsay was retelling it to Gabby? And Gabby's like, I think the word soft is a trigger for you. She's like, I'm not soft or tender. Like, that's not me.
I think as somebody who, I mean, I also have days where I'm not soft and tender.
Yeah. It
just read horrible to me in that moment. Mm-hmm. And on the after show, the boys doubled down on that comment. They continued to say, her delivery could have been softer. She could have been more tender. And it's like, this is not reading well for the women of America. We don't agree with you.
Right.
We're not on the same page. And interesting point, though. So after Carl and Lindsay kind of fight, and we know, the same old fight, they're the couple that hangs around each other after they get mad. Like, they don't. I'm somebody who, when I get mad, I actively say, I need some space and I need to leave.
Like air out of the room.
And I feel like they were both kind of hanging around in the room, not speaking to each other, to show the other person, like, I'm not speaking to you.
They're awkward packing and going into the bathroom and being like, excuse me, to like move around each other is so uncomfortable. I agree. I never like put that together. They do linger. It's like, I don't know if they're waiting for the other, like maybe Lindsay's like, he'll apologize if I just stay around. Like he'll realize he was wrong and then they both just stay silent.
Well, and that's why when cut to later on when she's like, I just need some space. I'm like, I would agree. Like, take a half a day. The fact that he gets so mad, or not even mad, just so awkwardly trying to shame her that she's not driving with him back to the city. I would agree with that.
Yes, it was a good call not to do that.
Yeah.
And then the not taking her luggage, just driving off. That would, like, it seems like such a small thing, but I was thinking about that if my, at the time, fiance or husband just drove away when I had said, I need you to do X, Y, Z, and I know you very clearly were doing it intentionally just to leave and cause a problem for me because you didn't take what I needed you. Like, so that was really low. It seemed small, but I thought it was horrible.
I thought it was so rude. I would have called my husband and said, come back. You're getting the luggage. Remember, we just talked about this. I don't care.
Did you catch what Danielle calls her car?
What is it?
Cacio e Pepe.
Oh, my gosh. So dorky.
I love it because it's black and white. I mean, that car is stupid, but I thought that was a hilarious name for the car. She's like, yeah, Cacio e Pepe's going back to the city.
It's just like classic on brand for Danielle to call it like Cacio e Pepe. Like, it's just awkward and nerdy, and I'm
We're so over Danielle.
Danielle.
Get out of here.
All right, so cut back though. So Carl and Lindsay have their fight, and then, Paige, Sierra, Kyle have their convo on the couch. About Amanda.
I know we've seen a few moments, and I know it was also asked on like a Watch What Happens Live after the fact about Kyle kind of going to Paige for stuff. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think nice, but then I just really felt like Paige and Sierra were kind of inserting themselves. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, Paige's screaming at him when he was upstairs was hilarious.
Iconic, yeah.
Loved it. Like, shouting, and he is up in his bedroom and he's still hearing her yelling and continuing the fight, and he's nowhere to be seen. So I love that we got that scene, but wouldn't you feel a little weird if your friends were that involved kind of in your marital arguments? I get that they're backing up Amanda, so I would appreciate that, like, you're on my team, but then I just don't want you arguing with Vince and like it being then a weird thing.
Yeah, I agree. I was trying to think, first of all, I wrote down, I wish I had friends who would sometimes swoop in at those moments to, tell my husband to think differently about something that we're disagreeing on. But at the same time, it was so intense that I mean, Kyle didn't like it. At the after show, he was...
I saw a quick clip of that.
Yeah.
Saying, I wouldn't expect someone who does a podcast... Rude, Kyle. Wouldn't expect them to understand.
Yeah.
I get it. He has full-time staff. Like, that makes sense to me. There's a lot more riding on his company's success, but
again, the crying seemed to be all twisted. Loverboy is clearly not doing well, and I think that was the true impetus of the crying, because he's really stressed out. He can feel that, but then it was twisting because Amanda was asking him to leave Loverboy, and it was twisting into like, don't you get that I need you, and like, how selfish are you that you're leaving me in this time of need? How can you be on a Bravo platform and not be doing well? I was just gonna say,
how is it tanking? The amount of, well, I guess like we said, it's probably not free press, but the publicity, and it is, Loverboy and Summer House go hand in hand, and Summer House is like one of the most popular Bravo shows. I think Below Deck is always number one in viewers, but I think Summer House is always right up there too.
I mean, even James May probably makes some
those ugly shirts.
And did you also catch that Kyle said if he could only involve Amanda more, like, some things would have been different? Meaning, basically, like, implying that if Amanda actually did more of her job, that they would be in a different spot. And I was trying to catch that and understand, like, what did he mean? Maybe he meant the marketing is not going well because she's clearly like the lead creative on it.
Right.
But I just think that's bogus. Like, overall, it just feels like, no. You can't blame her for not waking up in the morning, not doing her job, and then also the reason that your company which you're claiming credit for if it does well, but if it's doing bad, then she's also that reason.
He's speaking out both sides of his mouth because he's saying she's not doing enough and she wants to leave. So she's not contributing. What's the difference? We know this would have been about August of last year. And again, Amanda on Watch What Happens Live, Andy asked her, so are you doing the swimsuit? It was like, there's a lot to look into. She hasn't done jack shit. That was August, and we are now in May. Like, I'm pretty sure that was a live taping. That was not, like, a pre-recorded one. And I was like, I know you don't start a business like that. Like, you need to do some. But we're getting up close to a year later, and it sounded like nothing has occurred.
Well, I also think Kyle's fully doing his DJing passion.
Yeah.
Which part of me thinks it's a little bit of a message to Amanda, like, I don't have any time on my hands, but yet I'm still able to figure out how to do DJing, and you can't even get your swimsuit thing going.
And again, on Watch What Happens Live, she was asked, how did it feel to see like Kyle's kind of breakdown in the car? And she was like, I didn't really care because I think what he was crying over was stupid. I'm like, wow, no sympathy that her husband is having like a breakdown.
Crazy.
But he walks out. They like each other that much.
Okay, so let's switch to another couple, Sierra and West. I have to correct something I said last week because I said, I don't think they're hanging out during the week. And then there's clearly a date that's planned during the week.
That was like a Tuesday.
Yes. So that was wrong, which gives, it just says a lot more about her that she thinks they're dating, and rightfully so, it sounds like. They're going to see each other during the week. The other thing I would say is, when he says, well, I just have to get my shit together, that drove me nuts.
I think every, like, woman that has been out in the dating world, just brought back, like, I had PTSD hearing that, where the guy's like, I'm really busy right now. I have a lot going on. That's what it felt like.
Well, and she clearly reads that whole conversation as, like, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
And I don't think he catches that she just walks away absolutely just pissed, I think.
Yeah, that was... I'm so glad they finally have had that talk, because I feel like every confessional is her saying, I need to know where his head's at and how he feels about me. So at least they finally put that out there. Didn't really go well, but...
He seems like the guy that is so nice to people that he kind of leads them along for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like he has a very flirty just personality.
Yes.
So you can kind of think, oh, he really likes me. He's always like sidling up to me and joking. But
he's like that with everyone. So then there's a problem in that because you think it's specific to you and it's not. He's showing everybody that same level of charm.
Well, we're for sure seeing West again. I mean, I know they haven't done any official, but Andy had him on Watch What Happens Live a few weeks ago with Kyle, I believe. And Andy, like, unprompted, said, someone asked me, who is the future of Bravo? And he said West.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
Andy Cohen loves him. So he's for sure going to be on. He's getting a season 2. Do you think Jesse will? He hasn't had much going.
But I think as a first season, he did pretty well.
Yeah.
Gabby's first season, Tank, Clunker. That Chris guy never came back.
Oh, yeah. He made an appearance at the alien party.
Yeah, right.
I'd be too embarrassed to show my face.
I think fans have fallen in love with West and Jesse's romance.
Yes. Yeah, they are the new Kyle and
which
Carl.
I'm happy to follow them into the next trajectory of.
Yes. I would like to see Jesse maybe hooking up with a housemate. So we need fresh blood in there because it's nobody in existence that's gonna make it happen. So interesting to think about.
And then the final piece to all this was Jesse when he has his cancer appointment.
And it just sounds like, of course, I thought we were getting our answer. They really made it like the cliffhanger. And then it was the cliffhanger again at the end of this episode that he kind of still needs some follow-up.
Well, so it starts with his mom and him having the coffee, and then it cuts to West and Sierra's date, and I thought in my head, I'm like, I don't care about this. We need to hear the results of the doctor.
You're like, stop dragging this out.
Right.
I know, and his mom's so sweet and just like trying not to start crying, thinking about it. It's like, those are the things you can cry about, Kyle.
Yeah, right.
Stop crying about your stupid arguments with your wife.
Well, and I felt bad for Jesse because I think he allowed it to be shared on TV, and so by default, he kind of had to have that weird, awkward I'm brave face, but I'm also like joking a bit.
Yeah.
But it's really not
He's
at all.
trying to lighten it because he knows it's so heavy that...
Right. And his mom is clearly dying inside. I just thought, just tell the cameras to go home.
Small thing that just cracked me up. For me, if I had a screaming match with a friend's husband, like Paige did with Kyle, they're leaving later that day, and she's like, Kyle, I'm riding with you. I was like... I said such New Yorkers. You just scream at someone, and then you're like, oh, I'll take a 3-hour car ride with you now. Right. I'll be in the back seat. No problem.
And he's like, okay.
Yeah, they're just totally fine with each other again.
So
Can't
funny.
operate like that. I would be like ruminating about the fight and probably crying later to myself. He was so mean to me.
Yeah. Anything else on Summer House?
No, there wasn't a ton. I feel like it was kind of, you know what? I think I just need so much to be engaged. There was actually a lot, but I still feel like there wasn't a ton.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I continue to like about Summer House is they are clearly hanging out off camera.
True friendships. That's the thing. Whoever they bring in, it cannot just be a so obviously cast. Mm-hmm. They have to look at who is in their social circle as is.
Well, I heard that usually it's Kyle that brings in the guys, and they have a really challenging time getting the guys to stay for a second season. Because we've cycled through a lot of guys, like even over the years, if you think back.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the guys, I don't think, view this as like a major win, or they don't like the energy or whatever, because they just don't come back. And it's like this massive joke amongst the cast that the guys just don't come back. By the way, I've heard that Andy Cohen has re-signed. So we're locked and loaded. We don't have to worry about the King leaving the network, anything like that. He's in it.
I guess maybe it's some of the allegations and who they're coming from of those past housewives that very clearly have a vendetta against the network and stuff. But I was sitting thinking of how differently I feel. Normally, a man in power accused, I'm like, guilty. He for sure did it. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And I've been very different about Andy. I'm like, I don't think so. Who cares if he did coke with a few housewives?
Well, I think somebody definitely probably leaned over to him and said, don't ever do that stuff again.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sure he's had a talking to.
An HR webinar on sexual
Yeah, they're like,
harassment.
we've been a little loose lately. We're going to have to rein that back in. No more drug use with the housewives.
Okay, where do you want to move to, Valley or Vanderpump?
Let's do Valley, just because Vanderpump was Reunion, so it's kind of a different vibe.
Okay, so we go back to James May party. They're all still standing on the rock. I cackled when Jasmine is recounting certain things going on, and she goes, and why is Jax giving us a TED Talk? I cackled. I said, yes, Jasmine, this is the attitude we need.
I love the sassy. I cackled when she called Simon Harriet the Spy, reporting back to Janet. And then, did you notice Zach called him your pink-booted friend?
I loved all that.
There were so many good, shady comments. I loved it.
Okay, so Simon, also, by the way, he's got to tone down on that foundation. It was gleaming in Janet's house. Like, shiny.
I didn't notice.
Oh, my gosh. I thought,
all right,
as a meticulous gay, like, learn how to blend that in. Match your color better, Simon. Gosh.
He was like, I'm on TV. I got to put my foundation on.
You can't come in with like messy vibes and not look on
immaculate.
Yes, perfect.
My first thought too of that scene is Janet is such a bored housewife. She has her like gay friends come over, they're helping her pack, they're gossiping. I was like, oh, her life is kind of quite sad to me. Like, she needs more going on.
Wait, we have to cut back to right before Janet and Simon's conversation with Zach, Michelle and Jesse, when Jesse comes in from the ayahuasca.
A totally new person.
Jessica, I had so many eye rolls. Like, no one was even watching me watch these shows, and I just had massive, so cringy. I couldn't bear that scene. It
and
was
then when
so
he
cringy.
Kissed her, she was literally like, no. She looked like she wanted to vomit while her husband was kissing her.
And she like he smells her hair and like gets into it.
And even she was like, "You're very calm."
And I thought, this is such an act. And then cut to later on in the episode, everyone goes, he's back.
And he's drunk off his ass. They made it sound like he drank nearly a bottle of tequila on that like lake day. Oh, and then their like physical fight.
The Big Bear trip. Let's talk about that. Janet seems like a horrible host. I'm just gonna say that. She got the nice house. She does nothing else. Puts out no snack. There's not a carrot in sight. A carrot stick.
Lauren is the hostess with the mostest. She has apps for me. She has a veggie tray, potato skins.
I know how to do it. Actually, the first thing Janet serves them all is a shot.
Oh, yeah. I was also thinking, why on earth, I know it's a show and they just use the excuse of a baby moon to just make it a cast trip. Why on earth would you want your rowdy, drunken friends with you on a baby moon? I was thinking that as she was getting out the shots. It's like, party, but not for me.
Also, Big Bear, the altitude is pretty bad, as we've seen with Jax almost drowning in the lake. I thought that was gold that they pulled that out of the vault.
I forgot that clip.
But so she's pregnant and she's there in the high altitude, or I think it's that there. I think
it's
that's
the mountains.
I think that's why Jax almost drowned is because he thought he could swim out to the buoy, and then the altitude got to him.
Completely forgot that clip. Where it's like, hey, you want to help? You want to help? The lifeguard's like, are you serious?
Which I think in my head, I'm like, what would I have said to the lifeguard if I...
Also, worst lifeguard ever. Someone is literally yelling for help, and you think they're messing with you?
Well, because he says it in such an awkward way. Like, you can help me now. You can help me now. I think I would have just said, I need help.
For a woman, I think they would have come a little quicker. He probably saw this buff guy going in the water. He's like, are you serious? You can't swim back?
Yeah. It was so hilarious, though.
But in the cars, when they're driving up, I was like, I want walkie-talkies. That's so fun. We need them for Managua. Yeah. Wouldn't it be fun to have walkie-talkies?
Truly. Okay, so Janet then... I can't say anything nice about Janet this time, but she starts the trip with announcing that they cannot talk about Kristen, and if they do, they have to put $20 in the jar, and then they cut to the boat, and she's sitting there talking about Kristen.
I know. She's so ridiculous. And ever since you said it, I do think, like you said, they're trying to make Janet like the lead, the it girl, and I'm not about it.
I don't think she's likable enough.
I know. Hopefully they're kind of realizing that for season 2. Like, we are not standing Janet. Love her for the messiness. She's good TV, but I don't personally like her.
Right.
Then how horrible, and I feel like some of the women mentioned it later about... Yeah, it was actually Janet that said it when Brittany's like, okay, can we like not tell Jax about me getting sick in the car? Janet's like, I would want my husband to like comfort me. And the fact Brittany doesn't want us to share, that is, I mean, Jax is showing like abusive, emotional and verbal, I would say.
Yeah, the fact that she's trying to hide it so much.
Right. The fact that he is making her, and I think that's what we see the clip for next week of Jax. Brittany kind of goes into the room to rest right at the end of the episode, and then Jax is talking to all the women, and he's like, well, how much was she drinking on the boat? And they were all like, 0. And then she comes out of the room screaming, like, you're trying to make me look like a horrible person at Jax. So there's about to be a big Brittany-Jax fight in Big Bear.
Speaking of Brittany, I must touch on the fact that she was wearing her cat-eye glasses and then cat-eye sunglasses over the cat-eye glasses. Jessica.
I saw on Twitter someone's like, they do make prescription sunglasses, Brittany. I don't know if you know.
And no offense, but those cat-eye glasses, they're not working for Brittany.
Just not.
Brittany's a cute girl, but they are not working with her mouth, particularly this season. And
maybe now that she's healed, they'll look better on her.
So why put the sunglasses over the glasses?
You know, she was getting car sick. I'm going to defend her that maybe the sunlight, you know, if you have like a migraine, you just are susceptible, I don't know, to light, whatever. But again, not something I would do if I was on national TV.
Right, national TV. I would not do a lot if I was on national TV. Speaking of people worth our time on TV, so they cut to Kristen and Luke at the premarital counselor. I mean... First of all, they've been dating for a year, so I also had that wrong.
I was going to say, did you catch that? Because I first thought, I'm sorry, having premarital counseling and you're 3 months into dating is insane. Insane. But then when they said a year, I was like, okay, That's a little bit, and obviously they're both older, like they know the direction they want their relationship to go in, so they need all the therapy they can get.
But don't you think it's weird? Because it's like, Luke doesn't say, this is the woman I want to marry. He says, we're going to have a child together. So it's just so awkward to me that he's not, it's not like he's in love with her in a way that he knows this is his forever person. Yeah. That really hasn't come out.
I've heard people saying that they think Luke is more opportunistic.
Really?
And kind of using Kristen.
He's such a country boy, though. Like, how do you think, what is he using her for? Her money? Her James May clothing line?
For all that free swag. That's a great point. Someone was saying, though, that he has some kind of company. It's like a ranch or something in Colorado, so that he's trying to get promotion for that, even though we haven't heard it mentioned.
One time.
So who knows?
Maybe he's mentioned it a lot and the editors have just clipped it all out.
Yeah, they're like, we're not even going to go down that path with you.
Until we own a piece of that
ranch.
Yes,
until we're getting a cut of your bookings. Patty Stanger, Millionaire Matchmaker, knows a lot of them, and she was on with Amanda Batula this week, and Andy ran through a ton of Bravo couples and wanted her take on are they good for each other? And he said Kristen and Luke, and she's like, love them. They're going to get married in the next year.
Patty Stanger, I have no time for. She's a matchmaker. Is she herself married?
No, she just said she got out of a year relationship a bit ago and has been taking time to herself. Andy called her out for all her Facetune on Instagram.
Patty? For
yeah.
Patty's?
She uses it so much, and she looks like a caricature on Instagram, if you ever look. And he said, I hadn't seen you in a while, so when I was coming to your dressing room, I was kind of like, what the hell does she look like? And he, she's covering up something, and he's like, you're so beautiful, stop using that. So it was like a compliment, but just calling her out. She's like, I don't know, I just have fun with it.
Oh, Jessica, I thought you were going to research when Janet awkwardly says, this is the amount of our house in LA.
Oh.
Can someone please find that amount? Please, I just want to know.
Okay, I'll find it.
So she walks into the Big Bear thing and she says, this is...
This same sale price.
Same sale price as our house in LA. And their house in LA is...
Not amazing.
Not amazing.
Right. LA is just so expensive. So
right.
I'm sure their little starter home with, do they have a pool or a backyard?
I think they do. That hibachi, I think, was around a pool.
A pool? Okay. So their house was probably 1.2.
Right.
It's insane. It's
right.
just these little tiny starter homes in the valley are going for that.
The last thing on Valley. So Jack's going in to Michelle and telling her about the texting, and Kristen got too drunk and told him that she's texting other men or whatever.
And she admits it.
Yeah.
That was where we left off.
I don't know. I can't get a beat on Michelle. It just feels like she's hiding stuff,
dead
but not
inside.
Really. Yes, dead inside. I agree.
She's so boring.
She is. I don't think she's good TV, to be honest.
Yeah. Honestly, I just am going to be curious how it's going to go with them separated now for season 2. So I'm only interested. I think they ideally, like we said, they are truly in that friend group, but I bet the producers really wanted Jesse.
Right.
He's more the character.
Yeah.
The idiot that will get drunk and make a fool of himself. Mm-hmm. So they probably were like, well, I guess your wife will do, because we're not going to cast a different woman as your wife. Again, it was the weirdest way that she finally was admitting it. In all the confessionals, totally deny. Kristen knows nothing. I don't know what she's talking about, protecting me. And then it's the moment Jax just brings it, and you're like, yeah, I did. Right? Doesn't it feel so strange? Or did she just finally go, you know what? My marriage is over. I might as well just let this out there.
He did the drugs. He's back.
Yeah.
I still don't like him.
He's a drunken fool today. He's not changed.
Yeah.
Let me just blow this up while we're in Big Bear.
Well, did you see, too, that Sheena and Lala both have now bought homes in the Valley? Which apparently Jax has gotten very mad, because he was the one, he and Brittany actually pitched this show to the big executive producer of Bravo.
Wow.
And he really concocted this whole thing.
Does he get a producer credit?
I don't know. I would negotiate that in if I were him, but the reality is he probably didn't know how the show was going to do. But now he's seeing the writing on the wall that Lala and Sheena are now buying in the Valley. I think they're doing their classic Lala and Sheena thing where they're close to each other. Yeah. They're probably close to these other people.
They're such besties.
Yeah. And he's like, no, you're not joining my show. I'm not going to take you on. Like, we worked really hard to get this to where it is. Like, you don't get to just come on.
Oh,
which is so
putting
like,
his foot down.
I know, it's so
Well,
like,
he wants
temper
to be
tantrum.
he wants to be the biggest name, and if Lala and Sheena come over, they have more name recognition because they've been on Vanderpump longer and are still on it. So yeah, he hates that. He doesn't want his limelight to be stolen.
Well, I think he's also salty because he basically got kicked off their show.
Oh yeah.
And remember how he told Lisa Vanderpump, "This is my show," and she's like, "It's not your show."
Actually not.
Yeah, so now for his show to be doing quite well and him to take on the rejects of Vanderpump.
He's like, you gotta come crawling over and beg.
Gotta kiss the ring a little before you're allowed to come on. But Brittany will bring him on. I mean, Brittany and him separating. Brittany will bring on
That's
Lala,
true.
she'll bring on Sheena. They'll still get parts in the, in the fallout of all this.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Let's go into Vanderpump Reunion Part 1. How many parts are we getting? Do we know? Definitely a Part 2. I don't know if there's a Part 3.
I will say, though, the theme of the reunion for me was there are cracks in the armor that I feel very validated by seeing.
With Katie and Ariana?
Ariana as a whole.
Okay.
So as everyone knows, I'm on the wrong side of
history?
this. I'm on the wrong side of history with this. I really dislike Ariana. And I was waiting for this reunion to see, like, if anything showed up. And clearly there is a lot going on off camera, which makes me so mad because this cast knows you have to do it on camera. You can't have 80% of the complexity of your friendship with Katie and Lala happen off camera.
Yeah.
And Lala's pissed about stuff, and it's coming up as fights on camera and we never hear why.
And we as the viewer are so unclear of why something escalates. Like the Lala and Katie argument at that alley astrological reading. It was like, whoa, where did you two just come from screaming at each other? There was like more animosity beneath the surface. I thought it was weird too that Brock fully out there, but Allie is like comes out when Joe does next week.
Yeah.
I don't think Brock had that much
going on
that he's kind of a full-time cast member.
He
now.
caused some stuff. I mean, Allie, I'm like, you don't get to come out. I agree on that. Okay, so let's talk about the seating, because the seating always shows, you know, their kind of A to B list, right? So I thought it was interesting. James is on the end. Yeah. So James clearly knows he's causing the least amount of viewership this season. And I feel like you can tell he's piping up now. Because that's what happened with Paige on Summer House when she got seated near the end. She all of a sudden
engaged.
Yes. And used the reunion. Let me make sure I have a spot next year.
Was that when she had that ugly flower?
Yes.
Yeah. God. That outfit was so bad for Paige. I love her stuff normally. And everyone was like, did you wear that to homecoming? Honestly, Lisa Vanderpump should be at the end. That would never happen. She's always right next.
Like, why is she there?
It's one of like the only reunions that it's Andy and her, and then the fanning out begins. Do you notice?
Because she's like trying to be co-host.
Yeah.
Well, she does instigate some stuff. So let's talk about the cracks in the armor that we saw. So one is the sandwich shop. Full on called out what we all knew, which is there was a drama with Penny. Yeah. And the fact that they don't come out and say that, it's like, come on, guys. This is clearly it's not a permit issue. It doesn't take you a year to get a permit sorted, especially since you just took down the awning and you took off the thing that
patio or something.
Yeah, you took that away. So now it's a year. It's clearly a problem with Penny. And interesting, Lisa has Penny's side. Lisa's going, if there's problems with Penny, I'm not going to be happy about it. Mm-hmm. So that was crack number one, and I love how they just try and gloss over it, Katie and Ariana. Crack number two was that Lala and Katie show more of their relationship and why they were fighting so much, and the fact came out that Katie did not want to go against Ariana at all this season because she has too much money invested in the sandwich shop, which... Let's just say we full on get. Like, if I had a bunch of money and I watched Schwartz and Sandy's go down the tubes because Tom was causing so much havoc culturally, I wouldn't want to repeat that.
Yeah. They were watching the crash and burn of Schwartz and Sandy's, and Katie was like, won't be me.
But we needed to hear that because there was an oddness about Katie with Ariana this season. That she was following her so hard, even when she went to Broadway, and that came out again yesterday that Katie was pissed about that. That Ariana
she was like,
ran
I wish
to Broadway.
I knew ahead of time.
And even in those moments, she's still, over the top, softening it on behalf of Ariana.
And I saw so many people really mad about Lala sharing. Like, they're like, a friend came and vented to you about another friend, and now you're putting that all out there, kind of sharing their private convos about Ariana. It's probably because I don't like Katie, but I was like, yes, you could see Katie sitting there, and she had no comeback because she's like, I fully said all that stuff. And now, like, it's coming out, and Ariana's sitting right here. You know, like, you could feel her, like, uncomfortableness.
Right.
But, like I said, I don't like Katie, so I was like, go, Lala, go, like, spill it all.
Well, and you can tell there was a real friendship there when Lala says the following of, like, you know, Katie, I don't like how you're acting right now. Because that, to me, says everything. It's like, you were supposed to be the one that really was a truth teller with me.
Yeah,
and now
they kept
you're not.
saying truth teller.
Yeah. That was, like, huge for me. I thought that said everything. I thought that was everything in it. And here's the thing, right, is you can sit there and say, Katie didn't want to talk about it. But when Katie answers the question from Andy Cohen of why were you and Lala having a hard time, Katie responds with, I don't know why. We were rocky and we were figuring it out. And Lala's like, that's wrong.
I know why we were having a hard time. Yeah. Because, it kind of goes along those lines. And I get it when these people on these shows get so in the public eye. Unfortunately, like, litigation and stuff happens. It just drives me nuts. Like, the first few things where we're in litigation, I can't talk about it with the Rachel.
Can we talk about that? That's not what he's asking. Andy does not ask you to say, like, can you speak on the lawsuit?
Yeah.
He's asking you for feelings and context.
Yes.
And
he's not like, what are your lawyer's strategies?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to discuss
who's
that.
paying who what. It's like, he's not asking you that because he thinks it's a really smart question. He's asking you to respond emotionally and say, you know, this is bullshit.
Yeah, I know. But I think they're just so instructed by their lawyers. Don't even make a statement going, it's so hurtful. You know, like, anything I think will be used. So there's no workaround to this because it's going to keep happening, and any of these people are going to keep getting sued for this, that, and the other.
Right.
But it drives me nuts when it's a huge, like, storyline or plot point and they can't talk about it.
I just thought, why are we talking about Rachel again? Are we trying to get one last bump of the ratings?
If we have another season, can we finally stop discussing her? I know.
Please.
I guess it's the first season without her, so we had to expect she was on her press tour after being quiet for so long. So they're reacting to her being out there talking about it.
Also, did you catch that Andy was trying to goad James into speaking about how there was hypocrisy, that he got so much heat for dating Allie, but then Ariana, who dated Dan, didn't get any heat. You can tell the entire crew, production, even Andy, is trying to show how the hypocrisy of this whole Ariana situation played out. I was loving it because, again, I'm not a fan of Ariana this season. I think this too smug, too egotistical. I think there's so much standing of her that no one is seeing that when she says, I didn't watch the season, Sheena didn't watch the season, maybe season 7, right? Whatever long ago. She announced at the reunion, Sheena did, I didn't watch the season because she was in a Vegas show at the time.
Oh.
And she was performing during the Vegas show. And the cast lit Sheena up.
For not watching
the show.
I don't remember that at all.
Yes. I wish I would have gone back and had the exact season, but they lit Sheena up. And here, meanwhile, Ariana openly says, because I didn't watch the season. And everyone's like, we get that.
I cannot fathom being on TV and not watching myself. How do you not watch? I would have to know, especially if I did something and it's like, did that make the cut? Like, is that one gonna air? I just cannot fathom. But then again, it's not our life at all. Like, if I was on a show, I'd be in the background. There I am. Well, Rewind. I need to see it again.
I do feel like Ariana would have been madder at Lala had she actually watched the show.
That's what I think they keep teasing, that there's going to be some explosive thing because they show the Lala convo at the whiskey party that Ariana wouldn't have seen or known about. I think they show her saying, you get broken up with and now you're God all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, and it's going to be like Ariana's live reaction to hearing that for the first time. That's my guess. I think it's something like that.
I mean, tell me if I'm too off on this, but I wrote down some particularly cringeworthy Ariana quotes. One is, I had the courage to stand up to my perpetrators when she was talking about
Yes.
coming for the reunion. I just thought,
Yep.
oh my God, what
Yes,
writer wrote that for you?
Yes, I caught that too.
When James was talking about the wallpaper in their bathroom, and it was
She's
fully...
like, I picked that.
Yeah, it was fully not about her. It's not about her at all. Didn't even need to speak up. I picked it. Also, Tom's suicidal thoughts, her reaction was, well, I was not someone who was coming after him, so what he was feeling, I was not creating. That's her reaction to his suicidal thoughts. So the New York Times article, they touch on Tom's New York Times article.
Oh my gosh.
Which, did you read that?
No. But okay, let's agree. It's giving the Janet coming up with like a better cover-up story, like way after the fact. His whole comparing himself to George Floyd and O.J. Simpson. I get what he meant, that he was kind of he was trying to say there are bigger things in the world happening. Why is this getting so much attention? Like, he obviously wanted the online hate to stop. But sorry, this happened in what, 2023?
Yeah.
No one was, he didn't use the O.J. Simpson trial was in the 90s. Like, he should have actually said, I think he maybe then said the war in Ukraine. You know, like, he needed to actually pick a true thing that was happening at the same time. So then, of course, he makes a comment about George Floyd, and everyone's like, you think your situation is like, you know,
right,
a man being killed by the police is similar to you having an affair and
Yeah.
you're getting online hate? Like, what?
Yeah.
So that was so strange, and I think he was told this concoction to make it, this is what you need to say, because you're definitely going to get asked about it. So they were trying to flip it, but he didn't quite bring it home.
Well, I read the article, and I do actually agree with Andy. So the key piece in the article, which was so weird to me, was that Tom is Tom, which we know that there's a certain level of collateral damage that's going to happen with that. But he had actually a PR person sitting right next to him during that entire interview.
Okay.
And the interview who was writing the story, or the New York Times person who was writing the story, made a pretty large effort to give you context that the PR person, I think her name was Riley, and she was this like young teeny bopper who was sitting next to him. And during the interview, she was actually on her phone for most of the time, and then was reacting to what he was saying as though she was like hearing him talk for the first time, meaning like he would say, well, I really had this going on at the time. And she would pop up from her phone and go, really? Like, she was not helping him at all during the interview. She was too young. She seemed to be starstruck by him and seemed to be almost invested in what he was saying, not as someone who was trying to help his reputation.
Like, oh, that's juicy gossip.
Yes, she was like, and I think after that interview, she was fired. The PR team either was fired or she was fired specifically.
Yeah.
But that was when Andy said, I think the PR team needed to be fired.
Yes.
I was like, yes, that girl.
So was it a videoed interview?
No. And that's why it was so relevant, Jessica, that the interviewer kept calling out this PR agent sitting next to him, because the PR person came off so naive, like reacting to him like, oh, really? Tell me more. Well, he's saying nonsense, and she can't get it out of the article. And so then, of course, it goes in big headlights that he compares himself to George Floyd.
Yeah. The person writing the article was like, this is gold.
Yeah, like she's waiting for the PR agent to be like, and that was off the record.
Strike that.
And that was off the record.
And they're like, no, nothing? Okay, I'm going to keep it moving then.
Like, Riley, nothing from you? Okay, got it. We got it.
We approve that quote about O.J. Simpson.
I mean, that's why I think Andy said it, too. It was, like, so obvious when you read that article.
Did you notice that in the mid-season preview, they had a clip of Sheena saying, and we then saw, it was her date night with Brock, Sheena saying, I don't think we'll be together forever. Did you ever catch that? So I was like, oh, man, we're having like a Sheena, maybe Brock breakup. They showed the extent. So that clip, never in the episode. They're at their date thing, and I'm waiting. I was like, when does she say, I don't think we're going to be together forever? Then at the reunion, they showed that piece of it, and the full thing was about her anxiety. So she's like, I have these worst case scenario. And the quote was, I don't think we're going to be together forever because one of us will die. Yeah. I was like, okay, that is a very different meaning. She's fearing death of her spouse. Right. And like, I was thinking we were getting like a breakup storyline. I felt very duped by the preview. But yeah, it's crazy how out of context sentences can be if you don't get the rest of that sentence.
I do feel like Sheena's speaking up a bit in the reunion a little more, which is nice.
I'm so wondering what goes so left, because she's really going to bat more for Ariana right now, and yet we hear that they're not speaking, after. So something goes really wrong still to come.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It seems like, though, they're trying to make the reunion so juicy and dramatic, and it doesn't seem like much is happening. I mean, the cast seems to be very clear when, as Lala says it, they're living in the comments, meaning they are all very aware of whose side America's on, and they're very quick to make sure that they are not going to rock that boat.
Yeah.
So what could possibly be, dropped that's so juicy? This feels like we're headed towards a wah-wah.
I know.
Anticlimactic.
Well, yeah, sorry. If the producers have to use shady editing like that of Sheena to make me think something was going to happen, they didn't have enough true drama. They were trying to drum it up when it was kind of fake. I don't know if it's the worst thing in the world if Vanderpump is done.
Is done out. I know.
Never thought I'd say that.
We've run it into the ground. Let's be clear. There's no stone left unturned.
Yeah.
They're starting to take a lot off camera.
The cast has stayed very the same. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Housewives are in rotation. You're constantly getting new personalities in there. Vanderpump has had a really stable, not at all in mental state stable, but stable, solid core group. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, like we said, we love when people are truly friends and all that, but it's just it's run its course.
Someone's got to pitch something. That's all I'll say. Now, after hearing that Jax pitched Valley, Jax was the brains of that operation. So now after hearing
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Jax being the brains of anything.
I would want to see Schwartz and Sandy's. I want to see the servers going on in there. I would take Lala and Sheena as a spinoff even,
Really?
Yeah, I would.
I'm not sure we'd get enough content. Especially because Lala can't talk about any of her proceedings. Same thing. So much of her life.
But she gives a little bit. I mean, we got a little bit from it.
Yeah, we know there's a custody battle.
Right. And when Andy says, well, what does he want? And she goes, I have no idea. That's the type of tidbits, breadcrumbs that you can drop. When Ariana says, I can't talk about it. It's just go back to Broadway. You're too good for us.
And now that we've talked about it, I hope there's just a part 2. I don't even want a part 3. I don't think they have enough to
I don't either.
Make a part 3. I know we get Joe. Joe comes out because we just have to have her there. They're really forcing her down our throats.
I mean, Lisa and Andy have to bring it. If there's going to be a part 2, a part 3.
Yeah.
The fact that Lisa kind of went in at Penny, that was the most drama we've really seen, with somebody going toe-to-toe with Ariana and Katie.
Yeah.
It's kind of well, if Penny's effed in this situation, I'm going to be pissed at you guys.
Yeah.
That was the most we've gotten. And so Lisa and Andy need to step up and do what Lisa and Andy do and start to actually create some moments here with this.
Right. Snooze fest.
Okay, should we move on to your next segment?
Yes, Lauren, what's it called?
What are the kids doing these days?
Doing up to, I actually don't even know which one it is, but yes, good job. So yes, just another Gen Z fashion piece. There's, we've heard skinny jeans are out, side parts, I believe, were another one that the Gen Zers have killed for us millennials. But this one, again, made me laugh. They said, you're a millennial if you wear ankle socks.
They're saying they're out.
And I have noticed the higher socks coming back, those white, very athletic looking socks on the young kids. And all I'll say is wait till your metabolism slows down. Those don't look so cute. When you've got
on the kinks. On the kinkles.
You got a kinkle going. You need that tapering at the ankle. I need to look I need people to see how small my ankle is still, okay?
When the ankle's supposed to stop, we need the line. We need the line.
So, yeah, just think about that the next time you're pulling on. I mean, my entire wardrobe, I think a Gen Zer would be dead at. Those, jelly shoes.
Are those back? Are they back?
Yes.
Big belts, I've heard.
Oh, no. At the waist. I loved a belt accessory in college.
Oh,
when I look back to some outfits, I'm how many accessories am I wearing? huge necklace, a big belt. It's so embarrassing. A bangle.
Oh my gosh.
Lots of bangles.
So funny.
So yeah, just think about that the next time you put on your ankle socks and think of how cute your little ankles look.
I'm not stopping.
I'm
I
not
don't
either.
care.
Nope, sorry.
I really don't care.
I don't have the calves for high socks.
I don't think so. I don't think I do either. Okay, so now we're going to move into conspiracy theory segments. Also, we have some quick hits. So conspiracy theory number 1, I was watching a clip of Andrew Schultz, who's a comedian.
We saw.
And he references a channel on Instagram called Ninjas and Butterflies, which this is where the true conspiracy theorists are.
Ninjas and butterflies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But they have a conspiracy theory right now, and it's pretty deep into the conspiracy world. But it goes like this. So with all the Boeing stuff going on, we are frequently seeing kind of all these problems with the Boeing airplanes, right? And it's to the point that I think even 2 days ago, there was another fire on one of the Boeing engines as it was landing. So it's so frequent that the public is becoming very desensitized to the Boeing issues. Like if you're on a plane and it's Boeing and it happens, you're kind of to the point now where you're like, okay, this is somewhat predictable that this is Boeing and this is now happening. So cut to the conspiracy theory of it. Well, the theory is that it's all part of the plan to leave these like breadcrumbs that Boeing airplanes are falling apart and become very desensitized to it. Okay. Because who has a Boeing private jet that he flies around in? Jessica, take a guess.
Trump?
Yes.
So they
think... And the theory is that's how they're going to take him out, is that it's going to be a Boeing plane issue on Trump's jet, and that's how he goes.
Interesting.
But we will never know unless it happens. So, and we don't root for anyone to pass.
No, but oh my God, wow. I mean, whoever would be behind this, the government, I don't even know. They're playing the long game, that's for sure. And also, mind you, if they are manufacturing these faults, excuse me, you're really playing with our lives.
Agreed.
I think the worst one was when that emergency exit door flew out, and I cannot believe no one was injured.
Right. I mean, I have an intense plane fear, so this plane stuff is really not helping. Yeah, but I thought that was interesting. It's well connected. Okay. Okay, so conspiracy theory number 2. It's actually less of a theory and more just what's happening. Apple has filed a patent that relates to the next generation of the AirPods. And the patent is asking, when you apply for a patent, it's basically trying to get yourself approval that you own the technology around the AirPods listening to your brainwaves. So let me break it down. So when you have stuff done to your brain or whatever, they put on all these electrodes. And really the area that is the highest frequency that you can get kind of what's going on in the brain is right around your ear. And so the AirPods and the patent are basically signaling that they're going to start testing in these AirPods how the technology can listen to your brain and like read what's going on in your brain.
Read our minds.
Essentially.
Great.
Now, the system obviously measures other biosignals, brain activity, muscle movement, eye movement, heart function. So there could be just a very healthy, like some sort of updated wearable for your health that's coming out of this. So you know how the Apple iWatch kind of tracks all of your health stuff. Yeah. Maybe it's just that. I think the conspiracy theorists are jumping to the more intense version.
What could the mad scientists use with this data and information? Exactly. Oh, man.
And the larger conspiracy theory is this would be used to read people's minds. There's also a kind of subset to that is that they clearly have to be testing it now to some extent. So maybe some people's AirPods have this technology.
Mine are really old, so I doubt mine do.
Oh, girl, I still use the wired, head things.
I did read about the I'm not even going to say it right, but the frequencies and the waves that are put out by using Bluetooth is really bad. And they said a wired headphone is way better for your health. We don't know the long term. When was Bluetooth created? Not that long ago. Mm-hmm. So I did read that, and I kind of started using my AirPods less frequently, and I went back to wired. Again, I'm sure the Gen Zers make so much fun of me when I have my wired headphones on at the gym, but
that's
I don't
also
care.
why I use the wired, not because I lose the AirPods so frequently or because they've fallen off during, workouts and hit people. No, it's because of the Bluetooth. That's really the reason why I'm using the wired. That's a really good answer.
Have you ever wondered if anyone in the world like can read minds, because there have been times where I'm like thinking such horrible things and I'm like, really hope that person can't read my mind.
No, Jessica, that's not a usual thought I have.
No.
But now
But now you're gonna think about it.
And now Apple.
Now Apple might be, so maybe I was onto something. I don't need Apple knowing my thoughts. They already know everything else about me with what I Google, with what they're listening, with our phones sitting right next to us. Your MacBook Pro.
Anyway,
they've got everything they need.
It was great talking to you today.
Yes. Now let's go to the Street Fest. See some ABBA.
Woo woo.
Woo.